Let's talk visibility. I know for a fact many of us have had moments or seasons where we are just craving to be seen. We're craving to be noticed. We want eyes on us, right? Rightfully so. You've impacted other people, you've gotten people results, and because of this, you want to grow your brand, you want to grow your reach, you want to grow your business. And there's nothing wrong with that. I want to welcome you to the Events Make Sense podcast, where women come here to really learn about high level strategy to take their events to the next level. I'm Natisha Crockett, I'm your friendly guide, and today we are going to be talking about why hosting an event may be the exact move you need to make to shift the momentum in your business. All right. So I know for me, sometimes you have, again, these seasons or these moments where you feel like you are being overlooked. I know for me personally, there have been different times across my entrepreneurial career where I have felt like things have been a popularity contest. I feel like, I've felt like I have brought so much value or, just contributed to, my industry, and it just felt like I wasn't getting picked or people weren't calling on me to speaking engagements, et cetera, et cetera. And there was a time and a moment that I felt exactly like this. And what I in turn did was I started creating my own spaces. I remember when Clubhouse was on and popping in like 2020, RIP Clubhouse. Loved that space down. In during the Clubhouse era, I actually had this room, the Queens Teaching Queens room, and I was on there like 7 days a week. We were talking about different topics about women. There were hundreds of women in my rooms at any given time, and it was a really it was really cool to say the least because during that time, I was able to give women a voice. I had tons of moderators that I allowed to have a platform in my room, and they were able to, grow their authority and get better with their voice, and so on and so on. And for me, building that room, building those spaces, um, in a way for me, it was exactly what I needed because I had complete control over my platform. I wasn't begging or seeking attention elsewhere. It was my stage. Like people were literally coming to the room to hear me and other moderators speak. And what happened in Clubhouse during that season, it created so much momentum in my business. And honestly, that is how I believe my events were so successful because of the momentum that happened on Clubhouse, because I took the leap of faith, or just the courage to really host my own room. It took a lot of time, right? I mean, we weren't doing too much in 2020, but I anything that I personally do, I do with excellence. So I mean, we had themed flyers. I had a whole, like signage sheet where like, for the moderators and things. Like I was running a tight ship over there. Okay. And because of that momentum, leaving the Clubhouse era, that then pushed me into hosting my first event in my hometown, Sacramento, my Galentine's Day event. This is an event where it was filled with strangers. I was transitioning out of the network marketing space. I was moving more into just promoting myself and the services that I offer. And I was speaking to a whole new audience. And because of my momentum on Clubhouse, and because I had kind of like this social proof, if you will, that I was building authority with creating these rooms, I was able to fill that event with complete strangers. Aside from my messaging, people were able to come to my page and see actual proof of me having about a year or so of just um of just evidence of me putting in work and just being this figure in the industry, if you will. And after that event, that momentum then led me into having my 5-day virtual summit. We had over 300 people register for that event. Again, mostly strangers. And then from there, all the momentum from that event led me to have another in person experience. At that time, my event was in a mansion. And then from there, and from that event, I was called on for speaking engagements and collaborating with other entrepreneurs to speak to their communities. And so when I think about, or kind of like reverse engineer where some of this momentum came from, it stemmed from Clubhouse. It stemmed from me creating my own room. And so I'm truly talking to the person right now who just may feel defeated, or you may feel you just overlooked, I think is the perfect way to describe it, where deep down that you're that girl. You know how much value you bring. You know how much impact you've brought to the people that you're connected to. But there's this tiny piece of you that starts to doubt yourself because you aren't getting invited. You aren't getting the calls to, speak at such and such event or collab with this person. And what that starts to do is it starts to eat at your confidence level. And we don't want that. And so to alleviate all the self-doubt and the imposter syndrome and you kind of just spiraling, the problem or the solution to that, if you will, is create your own stage, create your own room so you don't have to deal with any of that. Okay. And so let's see. Now, not only is there just power in creating your own space, you have full control over the room. I know for me personally, like rooms that I have created, and this is where we kind of have to be careful. I am an individual where I love putting people on. I love providing platforms for women to, share their story and to, be seen and be heard. But what I have personally experienced over my years in entrepreneurship is that sometimes when we create these stages for other people, it's almost like a defense mechanism where we're scared to be seen or we're scared to come to the forefront. And so what I have experienced is where I have made platforms or created platforms where women have grown on. And then in that same sentence, I myself have been muted. I muted myself. Here I am creating all these rooms and all these spaces, and I'm out behind the scenes. I wasn't coming to the forefront as big and as bold as I could have. And so as you are creating your space, I really want you to be intentional and mindful and understand that you and you alone are enough for your room. I feel like so many times we don't host events because we believe that we need this whole big lineup. Um, you are the brand. You are the experience. You can literally host an event with just you. You are enough, right? You are enough. It's even like with this podcast, this is not my first podcast. I think I've done like 2 other podcasts. And every single time I've done a podcast, it's all been like interview style. I've never just come in front of the camera and just share my thoughts or my strategy. And I think, deep down it had like some sense of fear of like, am I enough? Am I enough? to be on camera and talk to an audience for, 20 plus minutes about whatever topic. And I'm so glad that I've, grown in myself and confidence and my expertise that hell yeah, I'm enough, right? And so are you. And so just remember when you are creating these rooms and you are creating the spaces that you are the head and not the tail. If I could give you any advice, make sure that you remember that any event that you're creating, you need to make sure that you're the headliner, no matter who you have speak, whether it's a big name or not. You still need to speak first and last and in the middle, right? Like you need to make sure that your audience knows why they're in that room. And they're in that room because you put your energy, your love, your passion, your vision. That is why they're in that room. And so don't forget that. One more thing about just creating events is, again, you having that control. You're also able to create this momentum that is attached to you not chasing. Because as a service provider, and I'm a service provider, so I'm speaking kind of from the perspective or the viewpoint of service providers, at least in my own experience. Um, Oftentimes I'm asking myself, okay, well, what new ways can I acquire new clients? You are always got to ask yourself, like, how are you bringing in new business? Are you just relying on social media? Does most of your business come from referrals? Ask yourself truly, like self reflect right now, where does the majority of your business come from? When you have the courage and when you take this leap of faith and infuse it with strategy and you host your own event, you are literally calling in new clientele. And not only is it the individuals that you actually reach out to on your own based on, you just posting content, your attendees posting content, that is going to attract strangers. That is going to bring visibility. That is going to bring people who never would have saw your page to your page because you hosted an event. Especially like you might be talking about that event 30, 60 days after it's already happened. So think, you're promoting the event for 90 days, you have the event, and then you might be talking about the event for another 30 to 60 days. Think of how much visibility you're getting if you're tagging people or collaborating with people. Like there's so many opportunities for new people to get introduced to you and the work that you do. And that was all done because you had the faith and the courage to host an event. And so my challenge to you would be that if you are finding yourself right now in a space where you are just craving visibility, you are trying to figure out like how to acquire new clients or how to get your work in front of new names, host an event. And here's the thing, it doesn't have to be in person. It doesn't have to be, super expensive. Anything, any type of webinar, some type of virtual experience, those are all events. Find something that works for you in the season that you're currently in and just host something. I'm telling you, just host the event, okay? And so I want to thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If any part of today's episode resonated with you, please like, subscribe, share it with a fellow business owner, women in business who needs to take that leap of faith and host an event. And I'm so honored to be on this journey with you. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.